Lagging bad.
How about now? Now we should have audio.
1, 2, 3.
Perfect streaming.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There we go.
We got it. We got. Yeah.
We had some technical difficulties, didn't we? We had no audio. We had video but no audio, guys.
Well, sorry about that. That's a little bit embarrassing, egg on our face there. But hey, we're going to be here live all for the next 30, 40 minutes or so, answering your questions live. Bear hunting questions, one of the things that we love. Yep. And so make sure you get those questions coming in. We want to thank a few people before we get started. We did this, but you couldn't hear it, so we're going to thank them again.
Well, first off, I'm Dan Wallace with Excalibur's Hunting Backwoods, and this is Carl. Yep. And we love our bear hunting, but we're streaming through a bunch of channels, guys. That's the reason why we had some problems with the audio, and we're streaming through Excalibur's Facebook page, but go through the list.
Yeah, we've got Excalibur, who of course we want to say thanks for. We wouldn't be here without Excalibur Crossbow. The Luminoc, we're streaming on Luminoc there. We love our Luminocs.
Love our Luminocs.
Bow Hunter Planet, thanks guys for partnering up with us here. Walnut Creek Outfitters, Crossbow Expert, Shooter's Choice up in Canada, Wyvern Creations, Simmons Sporting Goods down in Louisiana, and Shooter's Choice. Guys, thanks so much for joining us, and really you guys, thanks however you got here, whether you got our text messages, you got the email, saw it on Facebook or Instagram or wherever it's been. We're glad that you're here. We're hoping to have a good time tonight, talking about something that we absolutely love.
Yes, I love my bear hunting. I've been bear hunting for over 33 years, guys, and I've harvested a lot of bears. I've been through a lot of different outfitters. I've hunted just about every province up in Canada. And about 15 years ago, I took you on your first bear hunting, didn't I?
Yeah, and it was something that I'll never forget. And one of these days we'll have to pull that video because it's still
the hooty-hoo face. After he shoots a bear, he goes,
my eyes are as big as a silver dollar. But we got ate up with the bug, and there's a reason, because there's nothing like bear hunting.
Oh, there is. And guys, I mean, May and June is your spring bear hunts. We've already booked our hunts for the year, but there's not a lot of stuff to do around home here. Right. You know, turkey season's over with and everything. But right now, these bears are asleep in the dens. And when they get up in May and June, they're eating machines. And also it's the rut. Yeah. And we love hunting the rut. If you're going to be looking for big boars, the rut is about the best time to be out there hunting.
Yeah, and if you want to know why we like hunting it, we got a little clip here for you. We want to show you this clip, and this will show you just how exciting it can be to be on a bear hunt.
When it's a
Well, I mean, we hit that hunt just perfect. That was up in Saskatchewan, and we hit the rut just perfect that particular week. And
that was old Cut Nose right there. He came walking in with a big cut on his face, and he kind of ruled the bear bait there, but he got in a bunch of fights with us, and actually we let that bear live for another 2 years before we harvested, and he turned out to be an exceptional Boone and Crockett bear.
Yeah. But when you hit the rut just right, the activity is like that. But even if you're not in the rut, or if you're hunting bears in the fall, there's still nothing quite like seeing a black bear coming, walking through the bush. Yeah. It's the dark, you know, it's the blackest thing you've ever seen in your life, and it'll really get your heart pumping.
Yeah. There's nothing like seeing a Volkswagen come through the Canadian bush at you, guys. If he looks like a Volkswagen, he's the size of a Volkswagen you want to get shooting on. But we've got a lot of questions to go over, so go.
We do, and guys, thanks so much. We had a bunch of questions that got sent in to us ahead of time, and as questions come in tonight, if you want to ask questions in the comment threads, feel free to do that. They'll be feeding questions to us.
Well, actually, we didn't expect this many questions. I mean, guys, you piled on some questions. We won't get through them all. Actually, we're only going to get through about 10% of them, but the first one, Carl?
Yeah, so we've got some questions related to outfitters, and James Frutchie, he sent a message in. He said, "Hello, sir. A few friends of me are looking to go on a hunt every 5 years or so. We all hunt bears together as a gang. Where could we go to try and not break the bank?"
Well, guys, you know, there's several different outfitters out there, and it's kind of like some of the outfitters are more expensive in British Columbia and Alberta, farther north, but it costs a lot more to get stuff there. You know, if you're going on a baited hunt, there's several ways to hunt them with dogs or spot and stalk or bait, but if you're going on a baited hunt, it needs to be, if it's closer to the resources, the hunt's usually a little cheaper. Ontario and Quebec, they offer some very reasonable hunts, and there still is some quality animals in that area as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
and Rob Reinert said, well, what are some of the better bear guide outfitters in Ontario? You mentioned Ontario.
Yeah.
We have one that we hunt with every year. So.
Paul DePino with Dog Lake Resort. We've been going there for 14 years, guys, and Paul's just an exceptional outfitter. His clients, his return clients are like 80% up there. So obviously he's doing the right thing. There's a lot of different outfitters up in Ontario. I'm sure there's plenty of good ones up there, but you got to be careful with Ontario because some of the outfitters are running bear factories up there. When I go bear hunting, I don't want to look at 3-year-old bears all week. I want to look at 7 to 10-year-old bears. I'm looking for quality animals and animals in the 250 to 500 pound range.
Right.
But some of the outfitters, they run so many people through them, you just got to be careful with some of the hunts that you go on.
Yeah, that kind of ties right into another question. Stephen Matthews sent into us. He wanted to know how many different bear outfitters have you all hunted with, part A. Which ones are you able to drive to from the States, part B, and part C, when will the Backwoods be back on the Sportsman Channel?
Second quarter.
That's right. Excalibur's Hunting the Backwoods will be right back on Sportsman Channel, so make sure you tune into that. We'll be back coming in April. We'll be back up and running. So
be bringing you bear hunts and moose hunts and deer hunts and even South Africa again. It all depends on where you're at in the United States. Like we're here in Ohio, so Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec are all easily accessible by vehicle. Now, you gotta remember, the farther north that you go, you're going to run into bears that don't see people as much. So there's sometimes a lot better population of animals up in that area. Like we said, Ontario, Dog Lake Resort, he's in the western side, just above Thunder Bay, and that's where more of your genetically bigger bears are going to be. Manitoba, the west side of Ontario, Saskatchewan, they're genetically bigger animals. And it's sort of like this, guys. You don't go to Alabama to consistently shoot Boone and Crockett whitetails. You got to have the proper genetics. And some of those genetics, you know, just run from bigger sows and also bigger boars as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, check with your outfitter. Have him provide you with animals that they've killed in the past, but also have an outfitter that's running trail cameras. With the technology today, guys, it's kind of funny, but I even got a smartphone now. And I got one about 3 weeks ago. But with the technology today, your outfitter should be running trail cam pictures because I don't want to see what bears they killed last year.
Right.
I want to see the bears that I might be able to be hunting this year.
Right.
And, you know, it's all about managing. Some of the outfitters are big about managing. They want you to shoot animals over 200 pounds. We even had one outfitter that if you shot something under 200 pounds, you had to skin it. That's how bad he wanted you to shoot big bears.
Yeah. And guys, Stephen, we have hunted with a lot of outfitters.
Yeah, about 30 different outfitters.
Yeah. Even just in 15 years that 14 or 15 years I've been hunting. But you probably know this from watching the show. We hunt at the same time. You guys are doing the same thing, but there's so much at stake when you go to book a hunt.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you're going with a good, reputable outfitter who knows what he's doing and who can provide consistent results. And that's what we know we have. Now, I mean, every year we hunt with Todd and Laura Wiseman in Newfoundland.
I love Newfoundland, guys. I'm going for my 10th year this year in June.
Yeah.
There's a couple more spots open. If you guys are interested, hook up with us. We might be in camp with you. But Ford's hunting camp up in Manitoba.
Right.
Guys, he's booked up till 2019. He's had such good success with quality big bears. But I just found out recently on Facebook, Bear Hunting Classifieds, there's a Facebook page on it, guys. There's some really good outfitters up there. I seen one outfitter from Saskatchewan that was running some hound hunts and a very reasonable price. So that's another way to be checking out your outfitters as well.
Yeah. Well, one other question regarding, you know, outfitters and booking a hunt and going up to Canada. Rob Reiner sent us a question in. Thanks I'm sorry, where is it? I've lost it. Oh, Jim Shelton. Hey, Rob, thanks for your question too. It was kind of, we answered that one in the same one there, but Jim Shelton asked, where would you suggest to hunt spring bear in Canada to avoid the hordes of black flies and mosquitoes?
It's part of bear hunting, guys, but honestly, the best place that I found to get away from the black flies is Newfoundland. Now they got mosquitoes that are about that big and they will try and carry you away, and there's hordes of them up there. Yeah. But black flies are always a problem. Probably the worst place I've ever seen black flies is Quebec and Ontario, but that's in the June phase. If you go earlier, then you're a lot better off. Yeah. The drier climates of Saskatchewan, yeah, you don't run into as many of the black flies, but the farther north you go in Saskatchewan or Manitoba, yeah, you better have your thermocell.
Well, and one thing to keep in mind, Todd Wiseman in Newfoundland, the guy we hunt with there in Newfoundland, he has a saying he likes to tell everybody that when the bugs are bad, the bears are good. And it's true. And, you know, it's kind of one of those things, it's a necessary evil. And, right. But if you can suffer through, the rewards are usually worth it.
And the reason why that is the bugs are aggravating them, they're getting hot, they've got this nice long fur here, and those bugs are crawling down in there and they're biting the heck out of them. Mm-hmm. And they get so aggravated they just don't want to stay still, so they'll come on into the bait or they'll go up and start feeding in the cutovers. Yeah. And if you're spot and stalking, that's your opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we got a bunch of questions in about broadhead selection and shot placement. So Scott Turner asked this question. So with bears being anatomically different than a deer, if you're 16 feet high, you're 20 yards out, where is your shot placement?
Well, your shot placement is going to be, first off, we like a quartering away animal. If you're hunting on bait, guys, the reason why is because you want that animal in one spot right in front of you. The Canadian bush is thick as heck. You can't even go 10 feet without running into a tree. So they clear out a little area, let the bear come in, be patient, and let them settle down. Yeah. Now, we've got some video clips here. This is a bear that's quartering away right here. See, it's a big bear. But we're going to put an icon there so you can see where we're going to put that arrow.
Yeah, and you want to stay away from that shoulder. You want to sneak it in and aim for the opposite shoulder. And that's a perfect kill and shot on that bear right there.
There. Yeah. Another horse bear right here, and the guy's off to my left, and the arrow's going to come in through. So the bear looks broadside to me.
Even at an elevated angle.
You're sitting on the ground, guys. When you're hunting on the ground, you want to make sure that you go for the lower thirds. Now this bear's quartering away right here, and we're going to put a whopper on at 15 yards. This is the interlock broadhead. Blood. Here's another big bear too.
And this one is a little bit tricky because he looks like he's broadside, but the shooter is actually on the right-hand side. And so the bear is quartering away from him. He's broadside to the camera angle, but again, you aim for that opposite shoulder and put it right in the center of the body there. And this bear just gets pummeled right here over Crossbow. And that was 575-pound spring bear right there, guys. Yeah. That was a giant of a bear. So, and we get a lot of questions in here. Tom Musselman has asked, you know, what broadheads do you shoot with your Assassin? We've got, you know, what broadheads do you shoot with the Micro 355? Robert Villanueva asked that. But broadhead selection is pretty important, isn't it?
Yeah, I like a big broadhead. Actually, if I could put a hatchet on the end of an arrow and shoot it out of an Excalibur accurately, I'd do that. But I like the expandables. Some guys prefer a fixed head. Now, new this year, Excalibur is coming out with the bolt cutter 100. So now you're going to get the speeds out of your bow, but also the bolt cutters are so finely tuned that you get the accuracy of field point.
Right.
And that's the key. Not every fixed head shoots out of a crossbow, guys. I mean, look at our arrow. It's a little tiny arrow. And if you don't have just a precise machined broadhead in front of you, then it's going to be all over the place. You know, you can test out some other broadheads, but Excalibur's already done it for you. They provide open on impacts, and they also provide fixed heads.
Yeah, and regardless of whether you're shooting the Assassin here, or you're shooting the Bulldog 400, or you're shooting even down to the 308 short and some of the smaller bows. These broadheads that Excalibur sells, the bolt cutter and the exact, those are made by Interlock. They're great, and they're tuned perfectly to these bows.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you're shooting quill arrows or Diablo arrows or whatever you're shooting. You know, a lot of guys want to know. You know, we're getting questions about. You know, what do you shoot with the micro? Should we use bolt cutter or Rage broadheads? Terry Moore asked that question. And
man, that's all shooters' preference, but you know, guys, you just want to make sure that you use a good broadhead. Now, if you hit the shoulder of a bear, game over. The bear's you're gonna fall blood for 500 yards. Then the blood's gonna fall, you know, stop falling out of the bear, and you're gonna go back to the truck depressed, and the bear is gonna shake it off and be bruised for a day. You will not penetrate a bear's shoulder with archery equipment. Yeah. I still haven't seen it done.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of kills. I've videotaped over 50 kills and killed a heck of a lot more bears than that. But the other thing, you want a sharp broadhead. A bigger broadhead is better because they're all fur and fat. So a bigger hole is not going to be able to close up as much, so you want it to leak. Yeah. And elevated positions are a little bit better because you're going to get a low exit hole. Yeah. So then it's going to drain through the body and cavity.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, why would you use a crossbow when you're bear hunting? And
it's
why in particular an Excalibur?
Perfect weapon for bear hunting, guys. I mean, you can sit there with it on your lap, let that bear come in, be patient. Bears a lot of times know that you're there. You know, you don't want to be up there making a bunch of noise. Bears react to noise very bad. Just the moving of your clothes. If you have loud clothing, that sounds like a bear going past the fern. Right. And they'll spook. You know, you could be wearing rain gear, raise up on a bow to go pull a bow back, and they'll take off running out of there because it sounds like another bear's coming in. And bears are very weary animals on bait sites because they're typically an isolated animal. They don't run around in packs like coyotes or wolves or anything like that. They're a very isolated animal, and now we're putting out a feeding station out there, and multiple bears are wanting to come in there. Yeah. So, and I know one of the questions was, what about scent? Well, the only way you're going to get away from a bear's nose is to get in a Ziploc baggie and zip yourself up. We use a lot of different stink baits, you know, like Hordes uses anise. Paul DePino uses hickory smoked bacon. Oh my gosh, it smells delicious. Newfoundland, they use stink bait of chicken. But a lot of people don't understand, and outfitters will say the same thing. Bears will circle your bait site a lot of times before they even start to appear. Yeah. So if you can see out there 100 yards, you might get a glimpse of the black going through the bush, but you might not come in for another hour, or you might not come in at all because he might have smelled you. Yeah. So you want that stink bait there at the bait site.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one other point just to add to the first part of that. These Excalibur crossbows, you guys know we love Excalibur. We shoot them. We shoot them because we love them. And, you know, when you get up in the northern bush up in Canada, and Jake and I, my son and I went up to Saskatchewan, it's been a few years ago, and it was one of the toughest conditions that we've ever hunted in because we're up and down on gravel roads. It's either muddy or it's dry and dusty, and there's so few moving parts up here. And we actually had an issue where the outfitter, I mean, he literally ran the Crossbow over with the bait trailer. And we were stuck thinking, oh my gosh, is our hunt ruined? Well, if we were hunting, you know, I mean, you hear us say it all the time. If we were with a compound Crossbow, yeah, we'd have been done and been in the books.
Right.
But we could, you know, these bows are just so tough. They're built for environments like that, and they're built to take
the abuse.
Big bears.
The abuse and big bears, yeah.
And you know, it doesn't matter if you're hunting with the Bulldog 400, the biggest bows, whatever, the biggest bow that you can get, or all the way down to, you know, Excalibur's got the 308 short. Yeah. And my wife Carla is really excited about taking that up to Canada this year and trying to put a bear down with it. They're all going to be well suited. They're accurate, they're durable, they're tough, and they've got the power and kinetic energy that they need to get those bears on the ground there. So.
But also, we like hunting bears with guns too.
Yeah.
But you don't want to just go out there with any kind of gun.
Yeah.
If you're going to shoot a gun at a bear, you need a 30 caliber or bigger, guys. Yeah. You want a bigger hole. Now, my preference is either a 12 gauge slug or a 45-70. Yeah. And, you know, we've even got some clips of us shooting some bears with our guns up there in Newfoundland. Yeah. Yeah, this is... Now you can see a shot for a gun. You can shot right there, Jake, for a second. This is up in Newfoundland as well, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. The rut, guys. This sow has came in, and the boar has followed her in there, but he's not going to be allowed to eat. If he would approach that sow at any moment right there, she's going to go and whop him right in the face because she's not ready to breed, and she's going to hoard all the food. Well, this was a perfect situation for the gun, and we just put the shoulder and bombed them.
The shoulder right out, right down to the ground.
Now, if you miss the shoulder, with this bear right here, I missed the shoulder, and I was using a 45-70 again, guys, and it blows right through both of them. The bear's 50 yards and dead. Yeah. So go with a big gun so you have good blood trails if you happen to miss the shoulder.
That's right. Well, Michael Karstensen, he's obviously a fan of the show. He sent this. This is related to that. He said, last season on the show, he used a 45-70 to shoot a big bear, dropped like a stone. What kind of ammo were you using? I'm going to Ontario to hunt bear this fall, and I'm taking a Marlin 1895 and 45-70. What ammo were you using?
Beautiful weapon, beautiful weapon. Whatever ammo that gun likes. Anything out of a 45-70, I don't care if it's 400, it will dead the bears. But we're also talking about gun hunting a little bit real quick, guys, and just shoulder shots is not all the shooting that you can do on a bear. They do recommend headshots. SEI does. If you look in the books on where shot placement are, with a gun, you can make headshots. Now we're talking about an animal that's only 20 yards away. Well, a big boar's head is bigger than a pie plant. So if that bear, if you can't hit that at 20 yards, maybe you need to not be packing a gun.
Take up golf.
Because his lungs are about the same size as his head. Yeah. So here's some shots that we took. This is up in, this is up in Newfoundland. Bears in Newfoundland, they're genetically different. They've got those big, broad heads, big skulls. And you've got a big, you know, it's a pie-plate sized target. And it's a clean and ethical instinct shots coming here in a second, and there it goes. Drop right at the bait. I mean, right there at the bait. And lights out, and then this bear, look at the size of this thing. I mean, that's a pie. 480-pound Newfoundland bear right there, Boone and Crockett. And when you're going to make headshots, guys, right now is not when you want to make that shot. Obviously, because he's moving, but go ahead and roll the tape there. When his nose goes down, that puts the skull flat to you, and that's when you want to burn them, and they'll just drop in their tracks. Now, another shot a lot of outfitters talk about, and I personally do not like, are the neck shots. Neck shots, the bear's got a lot of fur, so you can make some mistakes there. But if you're shooting at a bear broadside, you just come up the leg up to the shoulder and you're good to go. Yeah. I like having identifying marks. And with his head, when he tilts his head down, now you got a nice flat head to shoot at.
Right.
Now the neck, if you do hit too high or too low, you're hitting the meat.
Yeah.
But a lot of outfitters have had a lot of success with neck shots, drop them in their tracks because they'll spine shoot them or hit the esophagus and they're lights out. But that's some of the shot placements that we do, guys.
Yeah, and there was a lot of other questions, and again, guys, thanks so much for sending those questions in. We're trying to get through this in a reasonable time frame here, so we're kind of going to move on to some more just general, bear hunting questions, and a lot of this. Lon Aguilar, he sent in a question. He said there's too many novice hunters out there that are shooting young bears in the 100 to 150 pound range.
Yeah.
What size judging advice can you provide to allow the bears to mature to a respectable class size, say, 250 plus pounds?
Well, the unfortunate thing is bears don't have racks.
Right.
And a lot of people, we call it buck fever. The first time they're in the woods, a lot of times you're sitting by yourself, up in God's country. It's just you and the bear out there. And yeah, they got teeth and they got claws, guys. They're normally not bad animals to be hunting. Usually they're more scared of you than you are them. But a lot of guys will shoot smaller bears because they don't have identifying marks to judge that bear with. But if there's an outfitter that has a 55-gallon drum laying there and the bear can walk in the drum, turn around and walk back out, it's not a very big bear. Yeah. Now if you can take that barrel and his body is the same size of that barrel, now you're looking at a big bear. And I've often, we've been to several camps, we've helped a lot of other clients track their bears and everything, and when they say, well, I think he was big, then usually he's not real big. But that all goes to, with the technology we have today, guys, you can be looking at all kinds of different pictures. When I was 15 years old, we didn't know how to size bears. Right. Other than what the outfitter told us. Now, if you go jab a stick in the ground that comes up to about your waist, and that's your identifying mark, if there's no barrels on the bait site, and you jab a stick in the ground and that bear walks past that stick, you're usually looking at a 250 plus if he's up to your waist. If he's below that, now you're looking at a 200 to 150 pounder. Another thing that I tell guys is, if it looks like a German Shepherd with real pointy ears and the size of a German Shepherd body, then you're probably looking at a German Shepherd deer or bear. 110-pound bear at that point.
Yeah. So related to that a little bit, Eric Herman, who we know Eric's dad, Leo.
Leo?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Eric sent us an email in today, said when multiple bears come into a bait and you have pictures, how do you know that you're shooting the right one?
Hey Eric, you pulled one over on your dad because Leo was up there in Newfoundland with us and he had two real nice boars on the bait site, and the first night out he shot the smaller of the two boars. They showed him the trail cam pictures, but they were both black. They both had brown, real nice brown muzzles on them. Some bears will have bronze muzzles, some will have black muzzles. Both of them were almost identical. And that's tough. But also, guys, you get the trail cam pictures from the outfitter and take pictures of them to the tree stand with you. Yeah. And then you can always finger down there and look around and see what bear you're looking at. Yeah. Because again, bear hunting's all about being patient. That bear will come in, he'll settle into the bait site. Now, if he's got a sow there with him, he's going to skirt the outside of it, but he ain't leaving until that sow leaves. So as long as you're quiet and let everything develop, you can get your shot on a good quality bear.
But another part of that question that I didn't throw in there is, he also asked, make sure you're shooting the right one or the dominant bear. And one of the things, guys, that you'll notice when you're bear hunting, if a bear comes in and he is spooky and scared of his own shadow, and every time a squirrel barks he jumps out of his skin, he's not the dominant bear. He knows that the dominant bear is close. Yeah. And so so you kind of, I don't know, over time you learn how to read the reactions of the bears and kind of know what's going.
This is a good segue into this next clip here, guys. Now, this bear that's here right now, go roll this clip. 350-pound sow. This is a real old sow here. She's big and fat. Got that clip right, don't you? All right, so the audio going on.
So that's a big sow, right? And that kind of rolls into this next question.
Right there.
We need the audio on that.
You got the audio on?
No, it was okay. Sorry guys, another technical difficulty there. Something's going on. I got people waving at me and doing all kinds of stuff. I'm all kinds of confused. But let's get one more question in. We've gone for a long time, and guys, we could talk about this all night long, but we've only got so much time, and you got things to do as well. So, Rush Schwinn sent a question, and he said, "How many years did it take you to be able to tell a boar and a sow, the difference between a boar and a sow while you're hunting?"
Well, an older boar, you'll never mistake him as a sow. Now, a young boar, his ears will be on the top of his head. A sow's ears will be on the top of his head. They'll be like German shepherds. But as he develops his skull, a boar's ears will rotate around. Now, one thing that I've always told hunters out there is, when he has a head and you have little tiny ears on the side, get your weapon and get shooting at him, because he's a big dominant head. And that's how they score bears. It's not by weight, it's by the skull size on how you get to Pope and Young and Boone and Crockett. And the bigger that head is, the more those ears will rotate over to the side. Now, a sow's ears, they'll still always be on the top. Another thing with a boar will have a bigger paw. So if you go down the leg bone and then all of a sudden got this big foot, that's a boar. You're always looking at a boar at that point. A sow, you go down the leg bone and it'll be just like mine. It'll be the same size as my leg bone. Now you're looking at a sow at that point. Those two ways of picking them out. Now, like they always say, if you see a crease in the head, well, that video clip we just showed you of that 350-pound sow, she had a crease in her head. But
yeah, and a lot of times the boars will have broader shoulders and a more narrow butt. And the sows will be a little more narrow in the front and wider in the back.
They're
built that way.
Yeah,
they're built that way so that they can breed there.
But we're going to try this video clip again, guys, because this shows you several different kinds of bears on that. Go ahead, Jake. If you look at this, look at this right here. He's around 350 pounds, but like I said earlier, you need big sows.
We've been going for about 35, 40 minutes now, and it doesn't feel like that long when we're standing up here. But again, just wanted to say thanks to Excalibur Crossbow, Luminoc, of course, Bow Hunter Planet, all those guys that have kind of partnered with us to get this bear hunt Q&A out. We've got Walnut Creek Outfitters, Crossbow Expert, Shooter's Choice in Canada, Wyvern Creations, Simmons Sporting Goods, and Shooter's Choice. Guys, thanks so much for being a part of this. And you know, we've had so many questions. I got people moving around doing stuff.
We got like 3 people with cameras
doing jumping jacks. But,
go ahead, Carla. What's the question?
We have a question from Jeff Johnson. He says, "I'm a predator hunter and love calling them in. Have you guys ever had the opportunity to call bears? I would imagine not all terrain is conducive to calling, but are outfitters typically open to this option?"
Some of the outfitters over in British Columbia, some of your Iowa, western U.S. states, they do predator calling. And I've only called in one bear with a predator call, and it's very exciting, guys.
Yeah.
Just imagine, you know, when you're out coyote hunting and you hit the coyote call and a pack of coyotes comes running, yeah, that's pretty exciting. Well, when one big bear comes running off of one hillside, down across a ravine, and back up to you, that's real exciting. Yeah. So, yeah, predator calling, that does work.
And it's a great option in places where you're not allowed to bait.
Yeah.
You know, and it may be one of your few options. Obviously, you can go out and you can find good mass crops, good fruit crops. If you're in the Northeast, you want to look for you know, acorns and beech nuts and maybe apple orchards and things like that. But getting a predator call, one of the things you have to be really careful about is knowing the regulations, because some places you can't use electronic callers, but there are all kinds of you know, hand calls out on the market, manual calls that you can use. It is really, it's an exciting thing to do.
And that's one other thing I wanted to hit. You know, guys, there's several different ways you can bear hunt. Bait hunting is probably 95% of how guys go bear hunting, because in the northern bush, you just can't walk around in the northern bush and come up on a bear. A mature male has a home range of 50 square miles. So what you're doing is you're congregating those bears, no different than we do with food plots or sitting over water holes. We're hunting bears, and we're trying to put the odds into our favor as best as possible and shoot quality animals, and like the one question was, not shoot the small bears, but wait for the big bears. But also the spot and stalkings is very exciting way of hunting bears. Usually that's in the early spring when the dandelions first come up, or in the late fall, like up in Newfoundland when the berries are out. You'll go to the cutovers and you'll go spot and stalking bears. Predator calling, another one I don't do a lot of, but I know it's very exciting for guys, is dog hunting bears. There's a lot of guys that prefer the dogs and the hounds. I know why. I run hounds chasing pigs all the time. It gets pretty exciting with bears. You get them up in the trees, and then you can also judge the bear and shoot which one you want.
Yeah. Well, guys, I mean, it's pretty obvious. If you start getting him talking about bear hunting, he'll go on and on and on and on all night.
We didn't even need questions.
Yeah. Here's what we're going to do. We had so many questions. We just scratched the surface of the questions that we got in. So what we're going to do, and we'd be interested to hear from you what you'd like to see. I think we're going to schedule another bear hunting Q&A. So, you know, hit us up in the comments. Let us know if you'd like to see that, if you'd like for us to continue this conversation. Spring bear season is
probably what we need
up.
to do if we do another questions and answers is questions on how to pick an outfitter, or questions on shot play, or questions on sizing bears, because we could talk 30 minutes on just those questions and really educate you a little bit further. So if you're a first-time bear hunter or a bear hunter that's been going several years, we might be able to provide you some answers to some questions that you never thought of.
Yeah. But again, let us know what you think, and make sure, guys, that you text XCal to 77453. We're going to be doing a number of these live events. We've got, you know, like I just said, we're going to have another, probably another bear hunt Q&A. We're going to do some turkey hunt, a live event when turkey season starts rolling around, and we're going to be giving away Excalibur crossbows, including the. So make sure that you text XCal to 77453. I think we've got a little graphic, if you can push that up there on the screen just in case you missed it. Every time we go live, you'll get a notification. We're not going to spam you and bug you, bug the snot out of you, but just give us, shoot that text message, give us a shout. And again, guys, thanks to Excalibur, Bow Hunter Planet, Luminoc, Walnut Creek Outfitters, Crossbow Expert, Shooter's Choice, Wyvern Creations, Simmons Sporting Goods, Shooter's Choice. Y'all are great. Thanks for joining us tonight. And hey, make sure you tune in to Excalibur's Hunting the Backwoods, coming in about a month and a half. So
and if we didn't hit some of your questions, you guys can always hit us up on, message us on Backwoods TV Facebook page. And guys, if you haven't seen the new Assassin, you need to check out some of the videos on Excalibur's website. This thing is a cat's meow right here. But guys, we'll catch you later.
That was fun. Yeah, good job.